Welcome back, Alphas, my audience, my followers. Tonight, we gather beneath a sky thick with silence and electricity. Tonight, we gather not to comfort, but to confront, because the truth does not tuck you in at night. It does not whisper lullabies. It drags you by the throat into your own reflection and dares you to recognize what stares back. Their story just broke. Now, they're falling apart. And yet, here you are, still standing, still breathing, still watching me, which means you're not like them. You don't collapse under the weight of a whisper or the tremble of a headline. You are not the kind who shatters. You sharpen. You don't break under pressure. You become the pressure. You see their story crumbled because it was never real. It was a shell polished on the outside, but hollow beneath. They built it for eyes, not for storms. They stitched it together with validation and the fear of being forgotten. But what happens when the applause fades? What happens when the mask slips? What happens when the world sees behind the curtain and finds only fear and desperation? They fall. Of course they fall, because no one taught them how to suffer. No one showed them how to be strong in the dark. But you were built different. You don't need the world to clap for you. You are the sound. You are the echo of every no that forged your spine. You are the quiet between battles, the breath before a scream. You were born in the places they never look, the edge of the map, the cracks in the floor, the shadows in the room. And now, you're watching them disintegrate, and maybe a part of you's tempted to laugh to point and say, I told you so. But we're not here for that. We're here to evolve. We're here to rise. You don't learn from the victories of the weak. You learn from their collapse. You learn where they bent, where they compromised, where they sold their soul for a hit of fame, for a moment of praise. You learn how not to break. Their story was never a guide. It was a warning, a red flag waving in the winds of comfort and complacency. They thought applause meant they'd made it. But you know better. You know real power doesn't need to be seen. It just needs to survive. And you didn't come this far to play soft. There's a fire that lives in your chest, not to warm, but to burn. It's made of every insult they hurled, every doubt they whispered, every door they slammed in your face. You fed that fire while they slept. While they posed for the cameras, you were bleeding in silence. While they celebrated fake wins, you trained in shadows. And now, their empire of filters and fiction is turning to ash. And you're still here. Let them fall. Let them rot in the ruin of their own design. Because you are not them. You are built of scars, not illusions. You are not afraid of pain, you wear it like armor. They were always performing, hoping to be loved by people they didn't even respect. But you've already walked through hell. And now it's time to build, not for the crowd, but for the storm. For the war, for the hunger that never sleeps. Because make no mistake, this is war. Every morning you wake up with demons whispering in your ear. Every time you try to rise, there's gravity pulling harder. But you keep going. That's what separates the real from the artificial, the chosen from the fallen. Not luck, not talent, not applause. Hunger. Relentless, unapologetic hunger. A drive that doesn't stop when the cameras do. A rage that doesn't fade when the lights go out. They thought peace was the goal. But you know peace is a weapon. You use calm like a sniper uses silence. You aim with stillness and fire with chaos. You're not afraid of breaking because you've already been broken. And each time you came back, sharper, colder, more focused, they fell apart because they thought life was supposed to be easy. But you've made a home in the heart. You've become the pain. And now as their story collapses, and the vultures circle, what will you do? Will you watch, or will you rise? Will you mock their ruin, or will you build your reign? You're not here to repeat their mistakes. You're here to write a story that terrifies the weak. A story that starts in the dirt and ends with the sky trembling. You're not here for comfort, you're here for conquest. Because listen close now, the fall of the false is always loud, but the rise of the real is silent. It's made in private, in pain, in patience. Their story just broke, but yours is just beginning. And it won't be pretty, it won't be poetic, but it will be brutal, honest, legendary. You will fall too, don't get it twisted, but not like them. You'll fall forward, you'll fall harder, but you'll always get back up. Because you are the storm that they tried to bottle. You are the shadow they couldn't erase. So go now. Step over the ruins of what they built and do not look back. Their story is over. Yours is carved in stone and blood and will. Make them remember, not with your words, not with your smile, not with your charm, with your silence, with your grind, with your refusal to die. And if you ever doubt, if you ever feel the weight, press harder. Just remember this, when their story broke, they fell apart. When your story broke, you became the author. Now write, bleed, conquer, forever. Because when the ashes settle and the silence returns and the world turns away bored by the fall of another false god, you will still be moving, not loudly, not for show, but forward. You see, real power is patient. Real power doesn't panic. It waits in the shadows, sharpening itself in solitude, while the rest chase likes and lose themselves in applause. You're not here for that. You're here to outlast every trend, outlive every imitation, and carve your name into the marrow of time. And they'll ask how you did it. They'll ask how you survived when they didn't. But they won't understand the answer. They never do. Because the answer is ugly. It's bloody. It's cold. It's discipline when no one's watching. It's silence when the world is screaming. It's choosing war when peace is easier. You didn't rise by accident. You rose because you refused to stay on your knees. You stared into the void and didn't blink. You didn't just fight. You evolved. You adapted to pain. You stopped wishing for things to get easier and made yourself harder. They told you to manifest peace. You summoned chaos. Because in this world, peace is a lie told by those too weak to fight. And as their carefully curated worlds crumble, and they beg the crowd for another second of relevance, you keep building in silence. One brutal day at a time. One ruthless decision at a time. Because legends aren't made in front of cameras. They're made in the trenches, in the heartbreak, in the agony of rejection, and the humiliation of failure. You didn't just survive those moments. You fed on them. You turned them into fuel. You turned them into armor. And now you're not just a person. You're a force, an inevitability, the thing that keeps them up at night. Because they know you're still out there and you're not slowing down. Every time they thought you were done, you came back colder. You didn't just rebuild. You redefined yourself. You studied your scars. You learned from every betrayal. You kept receipts, not for revenge, but for clarity. So you could remember who you are, and what you're becoming. Let them mourn their broken stories. Let them cry about the fall, because you don't break the same way. You're past the point of breaking. You've become something else, something terrifying, something necessary. You don't live for validation. You live for domination. Not over others, but over yourself, your past self, your weakest self, your doubtful self. Every morning you wake up and kill him again. And that's why you win. That's why they can't understand you. Because they're still trying to be liked. You're trying to be remembered. And when the dust clears and history flips the page, It won't write about the influences. It won't write about the fakes. It will write about the fire, about the one who walked through ruin and emerged with the world in their hands. It will write about you, but only if you keep going, only if you never stop. Because this isn't the end of the speech. This isn't the end of the war. This is the beginning. You thought this was the peak? You haven't even seen the mountain. You're still at the base, still sharpening, still bleeding, still forging the weapon that you are. And yes, it will hurt. It's supposed to. But the pain isn't the enemy. Comfort is. Comfort is where dreams go to die. Comfort is where warriors forget who they are. You didn't come this far to be comfortable. You came to become something they don't have a name for. So let me remind you of what's coming. The nights will get longer. The pressure will grow heavier. People you love will doubt you. People you trust will betray you. And none of that will stop you. You will rise again and again because your will isn't tied to how you feel. It's tied to what you believe. And you believe in this. You believe in the grind, in the fight, in the rage that made you. You believe in becoming more than they ever expected. You believe in the moment when the world gasps, not because you said something, but because you did something they never saw coming. And when that moment comes, and it will, you won't need to scream. You won't need to announce it. The silence will be enough. The look in your eyes will be enough. Because by then, you will have stopped being someone trying to prove themselves. You will have become proof. Proof that pain can birth kings, that pressure creates beasts, that the fall isn't the end, it's the forge. So stand now, wherever you are. Stand in the failure. Stand in the doubt. Stand in the heartbreak. And know this, every second you endure makes you untouchable. Every moment you don't quit makes you more dangerous. They built stories to impress. You're building one to outlast time. You're not here to be popular. You're here to be permanent. And if no one ever claps, good. Let them sit in silence while you rewrite what it means to be relentless. Let them wonder how you kept going. Let them whisper about the fire in your eyes. Let them say your name not with love, but with fear. That's when you'll know you made it. Not when they cheer, but when they can't compete. Because they broke. But you built. They cried, but you climbed. They gave up, but you dug in. Every time you stayed when others fled, you became less of a person and more of a force. You are what remains when weakness burns away. You are what survives when everything else crumbles. You are the rise after the ruin, the answer to every doubt, the nightmare of mediocrity. So write it, in pain, in fury, in silence. Etch your name into the bones of this world. Make them remember, not what you looked like, not what you wore, but the way you never quit, the way you never needed them, the way you became more. Because this is the rise after the break, the rebirth after the burn, and they will never be ready. Their story just broke, but yours is war. Not the kind that's televised, not the kind fought with armies and bombs. No, your war is quieter, darker, deadlier. It's fought in mirrors, in silence, in isolation. It's fought every morning when the alarm screams at a soul too tired to move. Every night when the doubt crawls up your spine and whispers, what's the point? It's the war of persistence, the war of identity, the war of will. And the battlefield? It's every second you breathe, every choice you make, every urge you resist, every inch you claw forward while the world drags you back. This is the war most run from, the war they mask with fake smiles and fragile confidence. But you run into it. You don't flinch. You don't hide. You've learned to love the blood on your knuckles, the sting in your chest, the burn in your bones, because you know this war isn't here to break you. It's here to reveal you, and it will. But only if you keep going. They never told you this part. They told you to chase success, to hustle, to grind. But they didn't tell you about the loneliness, the quiet moments where no one is watching, and you have to be your own army. They didn't tell you how heavy it gets when you carry your vision alone, when the world doesn't believe in it, doesn't believe in you. But maybe that's a good thing. Maybe belief is overrated. Maybe belief is what they needed. But you didn't need belief. You needed blood. You needed pain. You needed doubt, because it forced you to fight. And you did. Every day you showed up. Not because it felt good, not because it made sense, but because somewhere deep inside, something refused to quit. That's what they'll never understand. They think power is loud, that strength means standing tall. But true strength, it's staying upright when everything in you begs to lie down. It's looking at failure like an old friend. It's being willing to suffer more than anyone else, because you know something they don't. You know suffering is the price of becoming. And now, you're becoming. Slowly, painfully, without applause, but undeniably, they don't see it yet. They still mock, still doubt, but soon they'll feel it, in the way the air changes when you enter a room, in the silence that follows your name, in the fear they feel, not because you threaten them, but because they know. You're real. You're the thing they pretended to be. You're what they tried to fake. You are what happens when a soul refuses to bow. They bowed. You didn't. They begged. You bled. They looked for shortcuts. You built the road. And now every step you take is a monument to the war you've survived. Every breath is a middle finger to the world that tried to suffocate you. Every success you earn will taste like vengeance, but it won't be about revenge. It'll be about proving to yourself that you were always right, that the darkness you walked through wasn't wasted, that the wounds weren't meaningless, that the fire wasn't just pain, it was purification. This war, your war, isn't over. It never ends, and maybe that's the point. Maybe warriors aren't meant for peace. Maybe you weren't built for stillness. Maybe the unrest inside you isn't a flaw. It's your compass. Your gift, your edge, the very thing that keeps you dangerous when others get soft. Because you know what happens when warriors get soft? They die. Maybe not physically, but the dream dies, the fire dies, the fight dies. But yours won't. Because you've buried too many versions of yourself to ever go back. You've outgrown too many graves to settle now. And they'll try to pull you down. Trust that. They'll come dressed as friends, as opportunities, as promises. But you'll recognize them, not because you're paranoid, but because you've seen this before. You've been burned, betrayed, broken, and still, you rise. Still, you climb. Not because it's easy, but because you're the only one left who understands what this really is. It's not a race, it's not a game, it's a war. And every day you wake up ready to fight, you win. Maybe not visibly, maybe not in ways the world tracks, but something inside you sharpens, something hardens, something becomes unkillable. And that's the win that matters. That's the prize no one can steal. You are not the hero they want. You are the reminder they fear. A reminder that pain doesn't kill you. Comfort does. That suffering isn't the end. It's the beginning. That weakness isn't a curse. It's a choice. And you? You chose pain. You chose war. You chose truth. And that truth will carve through the lies of this world like fire through dry leaves, because you've earned it. Every inch, every scar, every sleepless night. So keep going, not for them, Not even for the past version of you, but for who you're becoming, for the beast you're sculpting inside, for the legacy that is yet to be written. One word, one breath, one battle at a time. No shortcuts, no mercy, no retreat. Because when the next one breaks, and they will, you'll be there, watching, not judging, not mocking, but remembering what it felt like to be on the edge, remembering what it cost to rise. And then you'll walk past their ruins without a second glance, because you're not here to save anyone. You're here to survive. You're here to conquer. Forever. As we close this chapter, let me remind you of something vital. This is not just a speech. This is a call to arms, but not with guns or swords. The weapon you carry is your will. The ammunition you load is your relentless drive. The battlefield is your life. And the enemy? Every voice of doubt, every moment of fear, every falsehood that tells you you're not enough. Every day you walk this earth, you are fighting. And every single day you get back up, you are winning. So take a moment to look at what you've become. You are not the person you were yesterday. You are not the version of yourself that doubted, that hesitated, that looked for shortcuts. That person is dead. They died in the fire of your ambition. They died in the weight of your struggles. They died with the lies they told themselves about who they could be, who they could become. And in their place, you, the warrior, stand taller, sharper, more focused than ever before. You are a creation, a product of your own suffering and perseverance. You are the embodiment of all that you have survived, all that you have endured, and everything you have fought for. Every scar is a testament, every bruise a badge of honor. The world has its broken stories, but you're writing a different one. Yours is one of growth, of strength, of survival, of ruthless dedication. While others are busy mourning their failures, you are busy turning them into stepping stones. You are not afraid of the grind. You are not afraid of what's coming next. You have faced the worst, and you have learned how to bend, but never break. And don't mistake this for arrogance. This is clarity. Clarity that you were never meant to fit in with the masses. You were never meant to follow the crowd. You were always meant for something more. And now that you see the path ahead, now that you've tasted the bitterness of struggle and the sweetness of overcoming it, you will not stop. Because this war, your war, is far from over. It will be endless. It will never relent. But that's why you'll never stop fighting. You've crossed the line. You've committed. There's no going back. There's no room for doubt. There's only forward. There's only victory. And victory doesn't look like a banner waved over a crowd. It looks like the quiet, steady rise of someone who knows the cost of their journey and still refuses to let the world win. It's not about glory. It's about what you become, what you show the world when you refuse to die, when you refuse to quit, when you outlast the storm and you emerge untouched. So walk forward, look ahead, never look back, keep your eyes on your goal, and know that as long as you breathe, you are in this war. You are still fighting, and you will never be anything less than a conqueror. Because while the world collapses in its own fragility, while others crumble beneath the weight of their own insecurities, you will stand tall, unwavering. You will be the one they look at with awe, with fear, with respect. And they'll wonder how you did it. They'll ask how you endured when they couldn't. And the answer will be simple. You did it because you were born for war. You did it because you never stopped. And you did it because this fight, was never about winning the world's approval. It was about winning yourself. The story they told you, it broke. But yours is just beginning. You are the storm, and the world will never be the same once you've left your mark. Conquer forever.